Wii Sports was a launch title for the Wii intended to show off the system's new motion controls with a small collection of sports that just about anyone could understand, and really helped people learn how to properly use the Wii Remote to its full extent. However, one complaint Nintendo kept receiving about the Wii Remote from Wii owners and even companies developing motion control based games for the Wii was that the remote was not nearly as accurate at detecting motion than it needed to be. In response to this, Nintendo created an add-on accessory for the remote called Wii MotionPlus, which could easily be plugged into the port on the bottom of the remote that would usually connect a nunchuck. Thankfully though, the Wii MotionPlus accessory came with a nunchuck port on the bottom, so one could still be connected to the remote. But just like the original Wii Remote, Nintendo needed a way to properly show off the new accessory's refined motion sensing abilities. Their solution? Fuck it, just do Wii Sports again. Wii Sports Resort, released on June 25th, 2009, was, as stated before, a sequel to the original Wii Sports intended to show off the Wii MotionPlus's new sensing abilities. Now with almost triple the amount of sports of the original, and so many different submodes to these sports, Wii Sports is undoubtedly one of the greatest sequels of all time. It takes pretty much everything that made the original so much fun, and fully fleshes it out into something that feels less like a tech demo, and more like an actual game. And that's not to say the original Wii Sports is bad in any way. Its simplicity is one of the reasons I love it so much, and I've gone as far to make an entire video dedicated to that you can watch on my channel. But Wii Sports Resort is different, not even just in a gameplay way. I mean, look at the presentation of this game. Instead of opening up the game and being greeted to a menu asking what sports you want to play, Resort opens up with you jumping out of a fucking plane, skydiving down to this beautiful island with a giant volcano on one of its edges. Just in the first minute of this game alone, you can already tell how much of an improvement this game is over the original. And one of the biggest reasons for that is Wuhu Island. This is one of the coolest places Nintendo has ever designed. I mean, it has so many cool locations and secret areas, and is what connects everything together in this game. In almost every single sport that takes place outdoors, you can look in the distance and see the location of another one. I love this because it makes exploring the island in air sports or riding your bike around the island and cycling so much more fun. You get to see the court where you play basketball, the stadium where you sword fight, the beach where you play Frisbee with the dog. Making everything connected like this was absolutely genius and can really help immerse the player in the world of the island. I used to fly around for hours in air sports trying to find new areas on the island or trying to fly in and out of the volcano without hitting anything. It was so much fun. The Miis also feel right at home here as well. The bright and vibrant art style of this game fit perfectly with the Mii's simple design and make the island really feel alive with its active population of little Miis running around or cheering you on in the background of the different sports. Wuhu Island is just fun. There's not really anything else I could say to better describe it. But I mean, I've already praised this game so much without even going into detail about the actual gameplay of the sports and how much better the motion controls feel in this game with the Wii MotionPlus. So a better sport to start off with than swordplay. Probably the most iconic sport in the entire game and definitely the one I put the most time into. Swordplay features 3 different modes: Duel, Speed Slice, and Showdown. Duel sees you facing off in a 1v1 sword fight against a variety of different opponents based on your skill level. The goal of this game is to knock your opponent into the water using precise swings and blocks now possible with the Wii MotionPlus. Or you can just fucking waggle the remote around until you win. It usually works in the lower skill levels. However, once you start fighting more difficult opponents, the waggle strategy becomes less and less effective, forcing the player to be more precise with their swings. This mode is a ton of fun and even sees the return of Matt as the final opponent you have to defeat in order to become the champion. Speed Slice is a little less intense than Duel and involves slicing different objects in the correct direction faster than your opponent. It's a great way to train yourself at reaction time for the other swordplay modes and is a lot of fun with friends. Also, Matt is in this mode too and is just the one throwing objects in the air. I guess Matt really loves swordplay. Showdown is my personal favorite of the bunch, and sees the player progressing down a path defeating hordes of enemies that can usually be defeated with one sword swing, with rare more difficult ones taking 2 hits and being more accurate with their swings. You have to avoid getting hit more than 3 times in this game mode or else you'll fail the stage and have to start all over. Every stage ends with a final boss that takes 3 hits to defeat but is really good at blocking your attacks and catching you off guard. Just like Duel, the last level of Showdown features a battle against Matt that is ridiculously hard, but a lot of fun to try and beat. I can't stress enough how fun just destroying all the hordes of enemies in this mode is, especially all across the different locations of the island. Overall, swordplay is amazing. Each of the modes here feel really unique, and the Wii MotionPlus is really responsive to precise swings and blocks, making for a sport I will always have a blast going back to. The multiplayer in this mode is so much fun as well. I remember playing this game for the first time at my friend's house, and the amount of fun we had just waggling the Wii Remote around to see who would win first. Another one of the sports in this game that makes really good use of the motion controls is table tennis. This sport is very similar to regular tennis from the original Wii Sports, however this time at a much smaller scale with way more accurate controls. One of the biggest issues I had with the original Wii Sports tennis was that it didn't matter how hard you hit the ball, it still would travel back at the same speed. This issue was resolved in table tennis and adds a lot more strategy to the game while not overcomplicating it. This sport features two modes, Match and Return Challenge. Both of these modes are just like as they sound. Match sees you facing off against a variety of opponents based on your skill level with a final champion to beat, although this time it is not Matt. Very unfortunate. While Return Challenge sees you, well, returning shots, with each shot you return netting you 1 point. Once you return enough shots, cans will start appearing on the table, and if you hit them with the ball, you get an extra 3 points along with the 1 point you get for returning the ball. I never really played Return Challenge that much because I found it pretty boring, but I loved playing the match mode against my friends or even against the CPUs. I love how Nintendo decided to bring back tennis in this game in an entirely new way. It really fits the vibe of Wuhu Island and is designed incredibly well and is one of the more underrated sports in this game. And while on the topic of underrated sports, we have the incredibly fun wakeboarding sport. This sport involves riding off the waves left behind a speedboat and trying to get as high in the air as you can while also performing cool tricks and landing the board perfectly to generate more speed. I love wakeboarding because it feels so nice to get a good momentum going and do a cool chain of tricks and go for a high score. Although sometimes the motion controls do feel a little wonky here and you end up losing all your momentum and speed for something that doesn't really feel like it's your fault. But that doesn't happen too often, and a lot of the time I'm able to recover really easily and get my momentum going again. This sport is one of the more unique sports in this game, and getting a high score in this mode feels incredible. Making its triumphant return from the original Wii Sports is the incredibly popular bowling. In Wii Sports Resort, bowling now has 3 modes. The standard game, 100-pin game, and spin control. Starting off with the standard mode, it's pretty much the exact same as it was in the original Wii Sports, now in a new bowling alley with some pretty visuals. However, gameplay-wise, this mode has changed a lot. The throwing is way more accurate and responsive than it was in the original, and actually feels heavy now. I mean, going from the throwing in the original to how it works in Wii Sports Resort is almost night and day. The improvement is incredible. Curving the ball is now a lot more accurate as well, allowing for more precise shots and overall just feeling so much better. I'd honestly argue that bowling in this game feels better in a lot of ways than it does in Switch Sports, but I could be a little nostalgia blind as I did play Wii Sports Resort a lot. But moving on, a 100-pin game is just like regular bowling, except there's 100 pins. I mean, what did you expect? In the original Wii Sports, there was a mode to play bowling, except every new frame, they would add more and more pins, going up to about 100 pins at the very end. Now, that was fun, but I mean, let's be honest. The only reason we were playing all those other frames was to get to the last one with the most amount of pins. Including a dedicated 100 pins mode in Resort was a great idea, and playing this mode is so incredibly satisfying. But one thing a lot of people used to try to do in this mode, myself included, was try to get a secret strike. What's a secret strike, you ask? Well, this. Yeah. Pulling this off was incredibly difficult, but so satisfying to do. I remember watching countless YouTube tutorials on how to do it when I was younger, and it took me hours to even get it once. I'm sure it would probably be easy now if I really looked for a strategy, but Nintendo including a secret button like this to hit was so cool. And we'll even see something similar to it again when I talk about Archery. Spin control is the last of the bowling modes in this game and probably the most difficult. Spin control involves you using different angles and curves in order to avoid barriers that fill up the lane, with each new frame adding more and more obstacles. Perfecting this game, meaning getting a strike every single frame, is nearly impossible and probably the most difficult task in any Wii Sports game. Overall, bowling has had tremendous improvements in this game and really demonstrated how good the Wii motion controls were back in 2009, and I mean even today since the gameplay holds up so incredibly well. Archery. One of the only sports in Resort to use the nunchuck, and probably the best use of it in this game. Archery involves shooting a target in various locations on the island and going for the highest score possible by hitting as close to the center as you can. The controls can sometimes feel a bit wonky, but when you understand them, you can get pretty good at this game. I never played this one much when I was younger as I was really bad at it, but going back, I had a ton of fun playing this one. However, one of the reasons I wanted to talk about archery was because of this. How the fuck? I didn't even know these existed until like a year ago. In every single archery level, there's a hidden target, and some of these targets are hidden so well that it just looks like you're taking a shot in the dark when you try to go for some of these. This is such a cool thing to include, and just goes to show how many small little details there are scattered all over Wuhu Island. And while on the topic of small details all over the island, what better sport to talk about than air sports? Well, more specifically, the island flyover mode. Island flyover sees the player piloting a small plane that you control by rotating the Wii Remote in the direction you want to fly. Along with this, you can turn the engine off with B for some reason, and shoot a flare into the air by hitting 1. Being able to explore the island like this is cool enough in and of itself, but the addition of different location points to collect that have little tidbits of information about areas on the island is so awesome. Like for example, you can learn about this mountain monument that the game describes as looking man-made and then ask the question of how the huge rocks got up there, or how the cliffside ruins have ancient writing chiseled into the rock that's too faded to read. These little pieces of lore add so much to the island, and the small descriptions leave it up to the player's imagination to fill in the blanks and create their own idea of Wuhu Island's past and how it came to be. One thing I used to love doing in this flyover mode was flying all the way over to the golf island in the distance and getting to see all the golf courses from high up in the air. It's just so cool how everything's connected and you get to see the island in all its glory in the flyover mode. And since we flew all the way over here to the golf island, what better sport to talk about next than canoeing? Well, I mean, you get to canoe. It's pretty cool. The motion controls are all right here. Just a fun little water golf. Making its return from the original Wii Sports, just like bowling, now has a bunch of new courses to explore and just overall feels a lot better than in the original, thanks to the Wii MotionPlus. One issue I had with this mode in Wii Sports was how tough putting could be. Sometimes I just wanted to slightly tap the ball forward, and instead it would misregister my swing and add way too much power to it, causing me to miss the hole by a long shot and then have to waste the turn getting the ball back where I wanted it to be. In Resort, this issue is pretty much completely fixed. I almost never feel like I have trouble putting anymore because of how responsive the remote is, and even just this small change makes for a better experience overall. But other than the control differences and new courses, golf is pretty much the same as it was before, just again feeling a lot better. And to me, that is absolutely enough. Although technically not in the golf sport and being a side mode in Frisbee, we have Frisbee golf, and it is exactly what it sounds like. Golf, but with a Frisbee. This is such a unique and fun side mode to have. I love the idea of combining new sports together to make something new. In order to finish a course in Frisbee golf, you have to get the Frisbee in the highlighted area around the hole would usually be, and this is a really cool idea. It adds a lot of strategy to the already in-depth Frisbee controls, because instead of having to land in a certain area, the height of the Frisbee is irrelevant and it's just focused on passing through that highlighted circle. I had a lot of fun going back to this mode and think it was overall a great addition. Last up for the sports I want to talk about, we have basketball. Instead of basketball, there are two modes, 3-point contest and pickup game. 3-point contest sees you shooting from 5 different locations on the court that are far enough away from the net to be classified as 3-point shots instead of 2-point shots that you get if you're any closer. The best way to do well in this game is to have a good rhythm, which you can see from the gameplay in the background playing right now that I absolutely do not have. After you shoot each ball, you have to reach to your right for the next, and this can really break the rhythm you have going. I never played this one too much because I was always bad at it, but when I would eventually get a good rhythm going, it felt really good. Pickup game is the one I played a lot of in this sport. It's a 3-on-3 match, and the team who scores the most points in the time frame wins the match. You can play this one against your friends or against the CPUs, with the CPU path having a skill ranking that you can progress through all the way up to the champion team. I used to love playing this mode because I found shooting the ball and trying to deflect the opponent's shots way more fun than 3-point contest gameplay loop, and I love the skill progression system. Basketball makes surprisingly great use of the Wii Remote when I really expected it to not, so props to Nintendo for this one. Overall, a really fun sport with my personal favorite mode obviously being pickup game. And that's all for the sports I wanted to talk about. I know I didn't mention every single one, but just know I really enjoy all of them, even if I didn't play some of them that much. There isn't one sport in this game that I feel like doesn't deserve to be in here, which is something I definitely can't say about a game like Nintendo Switch Sports, but that's a video for another day. One really cool thing that Wii Sports Resort introduced was stamps. Stamps aren't required to unlock any secret sports or modes and are completely cosmetic, but are a ton of fun to try and collect. In total, there are 100 stamps, with a lot of them being pretty simple to unlock, like getting a score under par on any course in golf, or getting a score over 200 in bowling. But some of these are extremely difficult, like hitting every single target in archery or defeating Matt in a duel. These stamps add a lot of hours to the game and require you to get so good at the different sports to the point where you're pretty much unbeatable in any of them. Wii Sports Resort is an incredible game on its own, and an even better sequel. It manages to improve on literally every aspect of the original, while also adding new sports, an entire island, 100 stamps to collect, and so much more. This game was the perfect way to show off the Wii MotionPlus, and I really wish Nintendo would revisit some of the sports in this game, and even just Wuhu Island in general. There's so much untapped potential here that could be fully expanded upon in a new Wii Sports game, and it really is a shame that Nintendo Switch Sports completely ignored everything that Resort introduced to the series. Wii Sports Resort is one of my favorite games on the Wii, and the impact it left will never be forgotten. It is one of the most charming, fun, and well-made games of all time, and I hope anyone watching this video who has a Wii, Wii U, or anything capable of playing Wii games that hasn't played this game before gives it a shot. It's a lot of fun on your own, and even more fun with friends. And with that, I sincerely hope you enjoyed this video, and have a great day.